Well, my name is Margriet Krijtenburg, and I'm a senior lecturer of Spanish at the University of The Hague, and I'm a member of the research group European Integration. Last year I defended my thesis about Schuman's Europe, his frame of reference. I have my master's also in European studies, and I was always intrigued about who was this Schuman behind the Schuman Declaration, the start of the European Union. And especially because of the situation we are in at this moment, in these years, I want to find out if the original vision of European unification could shed some light on what we are experiencing these days. If it could give an explanation, why are people so Eurocratic, Eurocritical, eurosceptic, europhilic also, europhobic? Mm-hmm. And why are we into this crisis we are in these days? The real reason of European integration and unification is hardly known by anyone. Not even politicians, economists, nobody. The citizens, no, of course not, because nobody tells them. And I know it personally a little bit now, thanks to my study, my investigation, my research on Robert Schuman and the Schuman archives that opened in 2007. So it's quite recent, so it's logical that people don't know. Schuman was the perfect person to be the one who founded, in a certain sense, the European Union. He's also the only one who is officially called Père de l'Europe, the father of Europe. None of the other fathers of Europe, so-called fathers of Europe, is officially known as father of Europe. He found out about the only way to really have peace on the continent is through a policy of reconciliation. There should be peace between what's now called Germany and France. So what do we have to do? We have to work on coal and steel together, because coal and steel are instruments of war. And instead of being instruments of war, they should become instruments of peace, And by working together on something that was an instrument of war and making it an instrument of peace, we can stabilize peace in Europe. After the Second World War, Schuman became Minister of Finance. It was crisis. The crisis we are experiencing these days in Europe, well, I won't say it's peanuts, but it's like a dwarf in comparison with the crisis those days in Western Europe, especially also in France. There was a lot of corruption, the morality was below zero, you can say, and okay, Schuman became the Minister of Finance, and he said, okay, transparency, complete transparency. I want to know what kind of money we have in France and what we're going to do with it. It was called the L'Inventaire Schuman. And he solved the problem. He solved the crisis. So he was really looked up at, wow, this man, he has got a lot of potential, After that, he became Prime Minister, then he became Minister of Foreign Affairs. During those functions, he was confronted with the Council of Europe. And of course, in 1950, he launched the Schuman Declaration. The Schuman Declaration was in the first place to finish Germany and France to be arch enemies. So they shouldn't be arch enemies anymore, because they had been arch enemies already since, what I said at the beginning, 843. And work together, start a peace project together, working in the field of coal and steel. By working in the field of coal and steel, the reason why there had always been war, because Germany always wanted to have this coal and steel, and France always wanted to have this coal and steel, and they both wanted to have the region of, especially Alsace-Lorraine, because it was rich on coal and steel, and Saar-and-Ruhr, the territory of Saar-and-Ruhr, of course. The interdependency of the countries, of course, in this field already, made war not only unthinkable, but also impossible. The real reason of unification is not, as people think, the threat of communism, the threat of a third world war, due to Germany or whatever, or because of the Marshall Aid, we should work together. So logical that we have this Schuman Declaration, and people Europe starts its project of integration. But it was all because of our common spiritual and cultural heritage. And the spiritual and cultural heritage which is the Judeo-Christian, which are the Judeo-Christian roots and the Roman Greek tradition, they imbue the entire European continent. They made us realize what personal freedom was. And this is unique in the world. There is no organization like the European Union. Many people don't realize that either. And it is an organization that makes war impossible. And there hasn't been such a long period of war, more than 60 years, as we all know, since the period of August at the year 0. I dare to say that if we hadn't had the European Union, there would have been war, for sure. Schuman himself said, if this is the soul of the European integration. If one takes out the soul, the whole European integration can fall apart sooner or later. And he also said, it can take centuries, generations. It shouldn't go too fast because the human psyche cannot digest a fast process. It should go as fast as man is able to digest this process. The national interests should be safeguarded as much as possible, but not if they go against common European interests. You mentioned earlier also this thing of the euro, if that had gone too fast. I do think if we follow Schuman's way of thinking, it has gone too fast, because first of all, the economy should have been integrated, and the coin is like the crowning or the coronation of the economic integration project. Yep. So in that sense, we have gone too fast with all the consequences. So this, and it's very surprising also that you see how for the people outside Europe, we are real Europeans, while inside Europe, we think we are, and we are, French, Dutch, Belgian, German. I mean, we are all different, and it's beautiful, because the differences are very beautiful and they enrich each other. The biggest risk for the EU is that it forgets that it's all about men. We should not be afraid of showing solidarity. We should see another self in our neighbor. I'm sorry to say so. And we should not split up Europe into a southern part and a northern part.
So we should keep the euro, for instance.
Now that we started with the euro, I mean, I think, according to Schuman, we introduced it too fast. But now that we started with it, and we suffer the consequences, but it also brought a lot of good. We can't deny that either. So I think we should be awfully happy with this EU because it brought us a lot of prosperity. We should talk from a different perspective, on a different level. The Greek are our neighbors just as much as the Belgians and the Germans and the whatsoever. I mean, we have the same roots. It's a very, very interesting period we are living now. I do understand very much the Eurocratics, and I do think the Eurosceptics, and I do think it's very interesting and very good also that they are there, because Europe was not going the right way. We were dealing with virtual money that was not exist. So we are punished. We should have been honest. Honest in our business, honest towards the citizens, and it's logical that the citizens start to protest. So I think, uh-oh, this is a wake-up call for the EU. This is an eye-opener. We should do something. We should, transparency, what Schuman had with it, l'inventaire Schuman, transparency, the banking system, all the systems should be transparent in that sense. We should be honest towards our citizens.
Most important or most relevant quote from Schuman that we should stick in our heads for the next 2 to 5 years when we are making these choices in Brussels in the next few years.
The most beautiful one is the one that I said about nous sommes tous des instruments bien imparfaits d'une providence qui s'en sert dans l'accomplissement des grands desseins qui nous dépassent. Each person has a huge task in life, much more beautiful than he or she ever could think of, and that goes beyond imagination. And I think each person should never ever forget that, because that's what's at the basis of the European Union. And that's completely forgotten, but it is at the basis. And then I can give a quote also if you want, because perhaps now the nation state and Europe and the continents. I mean, there are many beautiful quotes, but I will read out one. Let's see, here the European. Okay. The European spirit signifies being conscious of belonging to a cultural family and to have a willingness to serve that community in the spirit of total mutuality without any hidden motives of hegemony or the selfish exploitation of others. Another one that I do want to quote as well because it's very practical. This Europe, which is still split up and torn, that was of course after the Second World War, but still now we have got a similar situation, so yeah, continues to be ever more aware of its calling to become the heart of a pacific cooperation of all peoples and of all races at the service of a humanity that embraces all continents.
Sounds like two very good quotes for the next Commission President.
I do hope so.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.